Soldiers guard the residence of Mali's President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta in the capital, Bamako. He and Prime Minister Boubou Sese were detained here on Tuesday. As rumours of a coup spread, President Keïta appeared on state television announcing his resignation.
I want no blood to be spilled to keep me in power, and that's why I would like to thank the Malian people for their warmth. I am telling you now that I'm resigning from my position as the president and all my other positions, and I announce the dissolution of the assembly and the government.
West African bloc ECOWAS responded forcefully to the coup, isolating Mali through border closures, suspending financial flows, and called for sanctions against coup organisers and their supporters. Speaking on state television, coup leaders say they're acting in the country's best interests.
People of Mali, we are not holding on to power, but we are holding on to the stability of the country, which will allow us to organise within an agreed reasonable time frame general elections to equip Mali with strong institutions which are able to better manage our everyday lives and restore confidence between the government and the governed.
Many Malians welcomed the coup. Crowds frustrated with the president and his government spurred the soldiers on. Some ransacked and burned government offices.
We have come out today to call for the total resignation of President Keïta because we heard there were shots fired by the military, and we've come out to help our soldiers get rid of the president.
We are tired. The country is paralysed, and I do not want this government.
The soldiers began their mutiny at a base on the outskirts of Bamako, the same base that saw a 2012 army uprising that opened the way to Keïta's presidency. Heavily armed troops were later seen escorting a vehicle believed to be carrying the president.
We're very happy because this is a liberation for the people of Mali. All of Mali's people were waiting for this day. All of Mali's people were waiting for the president and his men to allow us to breathe.
Keïta has faced weeks of opposition protests calling for his departure after disputed parliamentary elections earlier this year. Much of the country is already outside the control of the government that's struggled to contain an armed insurgency that's claimed thousands of lives. Charles Stratford, Al Jazeera.
Let's speak now to Al Jazeera's Ahmed Idris, who's following the story from Nigeria's capital. Ahmed, just bring us up to speed. What's the latest?
Well, basically, right now, ECOWAS, the regional power bloc, is trying to send a delegation to Bamako to meet the new leaders of Mali, the military that overthrew President Boubacar Keïta. Now, the delegation is expected to be led by the present chairman or president of the organization, Niger President Mohamed Yusuf, along with presidents like Macky Sall, Ghana's Nana Akufo-Addo. However, how they are received in Bamako will be a different case altogether. Not mainly by the military, but the people of Mali, especially those who've been protesting against the government of President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta. What we're hearing now is that a number of young people, youth, have gathered or are mobilizing to go to the airport to prevent the aircraft bearing these leaders from landing. We are not yet confirming this, but that's the report we're getting out of Bamako. Most parts of Bamako after the events of last night and early this morning is calm, and a lot of people are expecting. Now, the delegation by ECOWAS to Mali will be there to discuss terms with the new military leaders. However, with the resignation of President Boubacar Keïta, their position is sort of weakened. Probably what they will be doing now is to require or demand a quick return to democratic rule, which the military leaders said they will, but not specifying what amount of time is needed to do that. They could be there for a very long period of time. And apart from the political chaos in Mali currently, people are watching closely to see how the insurgents, the armed groups, the communal violence that has been eating or tearing Mali apart for the last 3 years will respond to the situation. They recognize that there is a vacuum. They could probably exploit this and further plunge the country into deeper socio-economic and security crisis in that country.
Ahmed, what is the likelihood that ECOWAS, this delegation, will have any success, given they have tried to mediate before this point?
Their position is a bit weak. They have announced some sanctions against Mali, like land and air blockade of the country. Mali is a landlocked country, and if all member states of the Economic Community of West African States agreed and respected the sanctions imposed by ECOWAS to force the new government in Mali to return power to civilians is enforced, they absolutely need the support of Mauritania, which at one time was a member country, and of course Algeria, because these are the only two non-ECOWAS countries that have borders with Mali. If the whole of the region blocks or blockaded Mali by air and land, then it will have little or no option than to succumb to the pressures of the regional bloc.
Thank you for that, Ahmed Idris there, live from Nigeria's capital. Well, Mali is considered strategically important to ensure stability for the entire Sahel region. But the country has been in turmoil, partly stemming from another coup back in 2012. Following that, armed groups took control of large parts of the country, enforcing a strict religious code. They were driven out by French forces, but have continued to attack civilians in rural areas in Mali and in neighbouring Burkina Faso and Niger. More than 10,000 people have died in the violence. More than 1 million have fled their homes, and forces from France and West Africa have suffered heavy losses.